We're a startup company, Silicon Valley startup, currently, of course, a lot of it virtual. And we have built a solution that will make it easy for any kind of facility management entity to use the digital world immediately. So we can move them from paper maps and everything in between to a fully digitized asset management solution. So we'll talk about that. So I'm personally a civil engineer. I did computer science and business also, and I've been working in Silicon Valley with building software and also with Esri for so long. And we have found this gap in the market where if you go to the large people like Verizon or PG&E, etc., they have been doing mapping and asset management for a long time. But if you take someone managing a campus, be it education, be it a corporation, be it a hospital, etc., then they have a lot of different utilities and different structures in their infrastructure, and there is no ready solution for all of that. So we're gonna start by talking about how we provide this information. So we want you to stop guessing and start knowing. We have our presentation, in fact, in 3 sections. So we have infrastructure challenges, we'll go over it. Then we'll provide the solution, we'll give you a live demo. That would be interesting for anyone who hasn't seen it. And then we'll tell you 3 simple steps how to get it working in your organization. So Gina, maybe our marketing director, she can go ahead and tell you some of the reasons why we're building this.
So we've got a few statistics on the screen relating to underground infrastructure. Common Ground Alliance attributes 1/3 of these types of incidences to unexpected or poorly identified infrastructure. Sometimes at first glance, our customers are a little taken aback by these, but then once they start to think about their own experiences, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Over 240,000 annual pipe breaks, over $30 billion in damages annually, 400 fatalities since 2000. We need to be looking at how we can bring these numbers down a little bit, and the statistic in the bottom left is going to kind of force people to. So as the workforce shifts, the way that work is going to be done is going to have to stay. On a previous presentation, someone was talking about how staffing is a major issue. So if you want to be able to keep people employed and keep them interested and engaged, we're going to have to move forward. Go ahead, Moufid.
All right. So we want to ask you a few questions. So how do you currently view your infrastructure? So if I would like everyone just to send one number on the chat, like do you use paper maps or scanned maps? You can send 1. Do you use CAD or GIS files? You can send 2. If you use both, you can send number 3. And if you have some other ways, send number 4, just to have a pool of how people are really using their information today, how they're viewing it. We'll come to that later to look at the numbers, but let's go for a few questions here. So what are your goals? If you're managing a facility, if it's your facility, if you are just the operator, or if you are a construction company working on someone else's facilities. So I have seen that the replies, so many people are using both some digital and some paper documents. So these are all, in our view, the same. So even if you have a GIS file or a CAD file, it's a silo in itself. It has some better information than paper map, but it is not giving you the optimum solution. So certainly your budget is under pressure. We know that in many of the facility management people we have seen and their environments, they always need to optimize their budget. They always need to save money. They need to deliver projects on time. Everyone wants their project to go smooth, not to have hiccups, not to have unexpected delays, and of course, overruns of cost and all of those that come with it. You want to provide better service to the community, to those people who are using these facilities, or even to the environment or to the wider good. You want to minimize disruption of service. So even if you have a something breaks on campus or something in the utilities is not working. You don't want to fix that while stopping the service. You don't want your students to go home or your hospital beds to be removed while you're fixing something, or a gas leak, or a fire or something like that. So you want to be able to contain any thing that happens. Certainly you want to prevent it, but also even if it happens, you want to fix it while it's under control. So you want to be able to justify your CapEx and OpEx budget. So some of these capital projects, you might be able to look at the total cost for adding a new building, etc. But when you go to budgets for operations and maintenance, when you go to budgets of retrofitting a fiber network, changing your irrigation network or part of it, it's really difficult to do that without having all that information in the database, and we'll come to it. You want to avoid accidents and liabilities, not only because of the damage or even the injuries, but also for the liability to the whole neighborhood. So if your gas line is hit, then you might be liable because they might stop the gas for the whole neighborhood. You want to enable field engineers to do their work in the field. So these are some of the objectives we have heard from people who are in this area, who are managing facilities for their own or on behalf of others, and for construction companies working in these sites. So what we have heard also is that the documents are hard to access. Problems in the field are hard to identify. It takes too long to access resources in the field. It's hard to share architecture and utility with drawings with contractors. So what's happening, and we have seen it, is people are really copying those large blueprints or as-builts and delivering a set of documents to a new contractor who's onboarded to build something, and they have to spend weeks studying it and comparing what's there, what's underground, what's above ground, and matching it together. We have heard that people break things while fixing other things. We have heard that they can't close down a valve even if they know that's water is leaking, and you have heard that, of course, in many places. So we have heard that they were digging up surprises that can cause delays. So there's something that's not on the map, and then suddenly everything changes. We have heard that there is no basis for budgeting or replacing expiring assets. So if you don't know everything about your assets, their history and their replacement cost and their current cost, then you cannot justify your financial demands, be it a budget request for next year or a bid bond that is for a major project. This is where we go to present our solution. So I'm gonna switch to a live view of the actual system. So we can turn your campus from a pure image that you can see on Google Maps or any drone image into a live presentation of your assets. And you can actually add as many asset categories that you want, and you can go into the hierarchy the way they want. The reason we were able to do that, we're a part of the OGC, the Open Geospatial Consortium, and we follow all those standards. So we are using open systems in terms of representing all the right attributes about every item. So in a typical environment like this, you like a few blocks or a major block in being a, let's say, a college campus, for example, you can have 20,000 assets in general, and those are all entered and are living in that database. So it's a dynamic view of what you have. It is not like any kind of image or a GIS file where you can see it and then you update it every several months. So here you have a live presentation of the information because it's coming from a database and it can integrate with all your other systems. So so you can go and drill down on every single conduit, for example, and go there. And then you can also see all the information about it. So you can have a lot of attributes there. And you can see where did it come from? Where did we get this? So which was the actual map that we got it from? You can open that also in real time from your phone, from your tablet, from your laptop, anywhere. So it's a fully cloud solution. We can also help you in filtering data the way you want. So you can go into global filter, ASIL filter. You can look at status, which are operational or abandoned, which are not owned by clients. So for example, here you can go there and you can find some that are not belonging to the client. So these are coming from the suppliers, for example, of utilities. So you can see which items are overdue for replacement. So you can see the life, expect life. So these are all overdue, for example. And you can see that sometimes when things are overdue, you want to replace them as soon as possible if it's a gas valve, for example, but you can sometimes just watch them if they are still serving the purpose. So it really depends on the item. We also provide a dynamic way of having base maps. You can add, in fact, your own imagery. You can use Google. You can use Esri word imagery. You can use OpenStreetMap. So anything you want to use here can be changed. It's all dynamic. You can even use both, like two items, and try to manage the opacity between them so you can see them both. So it's all dynamic. So all these base maps are dynamic, and you can have the legend is dynamic. If you zoom in, you see only things you see, and then you can export it and print it and or save it as PDF. So so in addition to all of those, you also have a plan room. So all your documents are there, all your engineering drawings and your as-builds. You can search them by years or by contractor who has supplied this to you. And you can also open them at any time from any device. More importantly, we have this report where you have an executive summary of all your assets. So for example, in this site, which is we have built as an example, we have many clients, but we cannot share their data here. So we have something that we built for as a demo. So for example, here we have 4 million worth of assets. And the way we do it is by replacement cost. So if you want to replace your electric network, you're going to pay 378,000, etc. So you can see the histogram. How did you build your all these structures? And you can also break them down by conduits or structures or lighting. And you can see the expiry. So when are they expiring, in which range? And there are a lot of course, of reporting here. And all of these are, in fact, automatic. You don't do anything. So the report is generated by the system. The plan room is built. So the minute you go for the license, we do the drone image, we do the site surveying, but walking the campus and verifying objects. And it would fit very well if you are using some infrastructure detection, because then this information, the accurate information get out of that, would plug into this system so they stay live instead of just doing that once and keeping it separate from your other assets. So here, all your assets will be here, everything about your buildings and everything that is around them and beneath them. So all your campus infrastructure will be all in one place. Let's continue on this. So our infrastructure, in fact, we are providing this as infrastructure mapping as a service. So it means we do the mapping, we do the whole work, and we serve it to you. You just log in and you have your virtual campus. Gina, you want to comment on some of these numbers again?
So we are really proud of the solution. Our customers truly love it. Since inception, we've never had a customer not renew. We've loaded over 4 million assets for our customers. Those assets are being used by thousands of users, including facilities teams, construction managers, engineering and architecture firms, local utilities, fire departments, really anyone who could work faster and safer with accurate utility data in context.
So there is an old way of doing this. There's a new way. We call it an infrastructure digital twin. Certainly, if you want to do a full digital twin of your campus, it's a big project, it's a costly project. But for doing your infrastructure digital twin, we can do it for you. Don't have to. And in 2 or 3 weeks, you're up and running. And the good thing is you don't pay for anything. We don't charge any services. We just build the system, make it work, and you only subscribe to the software. So the old documents were mainly, even if they were digital, you're managing them by being reactive. You increase your risk and cost, and you have a captive knowledge that you have to ask people around where things were and where did we install this. And what we are providing is really accessible knowledge to everyone. So you have everything as a digital twin. So this affects your budgeting. So instead of guesstimate, you have precise budget. We know exactly which items are expiring next year and how much they cost individually. And this is the total. And it is adjusted to your location and to the actual replacement cost, including labor. So if you put that in your budget, you're sure that you're getting the right number. The old way in visualization where siloed layers, you log into your CAD separately, to your GIS separately, look at some paper maps, and you have different layers on in different places. And now you have all layers, and in fact, it's all a dynamic mix of all your assets. You had a stack of maps, right, of A0 or whatever size you have, and instead, you just have a login today. So if you are onboarding a new construction company, you just send them a login and they see everything you have in its place, and they can click on any item and see everything about it, the diameter, the material, when was it installed, etc. You used to, currently most of the clients we worked with, they wasted a lot of time on maintenance, and now it's all optimized. You don't have these multiple trips to the plan room to find something. You have your phone, and that's more than enough for you to reach your destination, find the item, click and see every piece of information about it, and even edit the information on the fly. So all the data is dynamic. You can click and edit any set of attributes, and then you have an approve or rollback by the manager of each of those people editing info. So your maintenance optimized in the field, and it's really saving a lot of time here. So in construction, you don't have any surprises. You're prepared. You know where everything is. And in the mapping method, what you use is to buy software, buy licenses, build your own, etc. And what we are giving you is subscription that includes everything. So you don't have to worry about hardware, software, licenses, services, all of that. We're gonna see some of the features. So you have fully interactive maps. You have plan and budget. You can plan and budget accurately. You can get compliance. So you can see, for example, measure the distances between your fire hydrants. You can do any kind of compliance reporting out of the system. And how to do that? So the path to it, in fact, it would mainly, we map it, you see it, and you can share it. And that's it. So there is no effort needed from any of the customers, and they love this. And we have testimonials on YouTube. You can see where people implemented the system in a few weeks, and they started using it immediately. So we have very reasonable pricing. It's a yearly pricing, and the outcomes, you can avoid project overruns. You can avoid outages. You can avoid the project costs. And these are really things that happened with the clients. So they told us about them. And you can, on top of that, you can have annual saving on your maintenance budget. Our system has an ROI calculator. In fact, before even looking at it, you can compute how much it would save you. So on the average, it saves about 500 times. But these are quotations by our clients saying it's 100% worth the investment, and it did some annual savings for them, and some of them secured grants because they were able to compute all those information needed to submit a bid for the bid bond. And it can really get onboarded really quickly. So this is a really sophisticated site. It took only 40 days to be live. So what we can tell you is stop guessing, start knowing.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. That was super interesting presentation. Getting to know that software, that service. I'd like to take the opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Oftentimes, if we've got all our data in a system, we need to get our data out to give it. Somebody's requesting data. Could you describe for us how you would get data out of the system to give to someone else?
Excellent. So there are a couple of ways of doing that. So first, you can always, as we mentioned a little while we were doing the demo, you can zoom into any area, show whatever you want, and send that into a printout into a PDF file, so you can share that with anyone. You can share data immediately with anyone you want, and there are no limits on the number of users in any of our systems. So if you onboard a new construction company and you want them to do something, you just give them a login, you specify what they can see, and they can see it. And more importantly, all the data is owned by the client all the time. We don't own any piece of data. They own it. It is stored in a standard way because of our compliance with OGC. And whenever they stop the contract, if they do, and we never had someone stop, but the procedure is ready to export all their data and serve it, give it back to them. So the data is customer owned. They can do whatever they want with it, and they can keep updating it. And all the updates that they do are actually available on the data itself. And when they export with the updates. So they don't lose any piece of information during that process.
Great. Thank you. So we have a question from the audience. How frequently do you go down to a site to resurvey these features and update the records?
Okay, so we are a software company. We do the site verification as a service. So we do for onboarding the data, and we can always do that for any new update on the campus. So every quarter we can do actually the onboarding, but some clients, they do it themselves. They have that option. They can update things every day, doesn't matter. And for 3D, the system is fully capable of 3D. We're building now integrations with augmented reality. So any augmented reality system can log in, and all the data will be available. We're building IoT integration, so they will have real data on top of the asset layer that we were showing, so they can see the water flow and the temperature and the pressure, all of that from the sensors. So, so to go back to the updates can be instantaneous. They can edit the info in real time. And for surveying the actual campus, we are not an engineering firm. We do have engineers, but what we do is verification. So if something is wrong in the map and it's not in the site and not in the map, if the drone gave us a better accuracy, we can correct things. When customers go and hire engineering firms to do, for example, subsurface detection, we can load all that info and match it with everything we have. So we guarantee that they have the best accuracy that they know about in all of these systems.
Thank you. There's another question from the attendees. Is the data stored in the cloud on AWS or Azure?
So we currently use Azure. We have used AWS before, but we have a completely secure system on top of that. So the data can be on any cloud and even can be on private cloud if needed, or in a specific country if needed. So we can run on any cloud, and we can run on any database. We can run on any GIS server. So it doesn't matter. The clients, in fact, have all these in the back end. They don't worry about them. So when a client subscribes, they have unlimited access to their data, and they don't really worry about anything in the back end. So.
Thank you. As a GIS specialist myself, one of the things that I like to ask about when I approach a new piece of software or service is how much training would be required for me and my team to get up to date to start implementing this?
So our experience is amazing. The people use it immediately. We have done some trainings, like for 2 hours for teams, and they were ahead of the instructor. So people, it's very intuitive. Everything is what you see is what you get. You have a lot of options inside the system. I only showed a few. You have hundreds of features, but all of these are intuitive. You can click and see. You can edit by clicking and editing in real time. You can print by seeing what you print and saving it. So you can filter also in very interactive way. So all of that is really very easy. So our benchmarks have been certainly within the same day.
I'll jump into
Thank
that
you.
and answer as well. Moufid called me a week or two before I started my position and asked if I would be able to go to a trade show 2 weeks after I started on my 3rd week on the job. And on my 3rd week, I was able to go to a trade show and do demos for customers. So it's pretty easy to learn.
Fantastic. We're into our break, but I have another question I wanted to ask about other data sets. So there's the infrastructure data set for the digital twin for the facilities and things. What about base data like aerial photography or satellite imagery, geophysical data? I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking about other types of data sets. How is that handled?
So all of this is in the cloud. We have storage, we have unlimited storage, and some people are even using it with their recurrent drone images. So they can move around between the images. They just switch from the old to the new and see how things are changing. So any kind of that information is available, and the clients can add images on the fly. So if an engineer is on site and takes a photo, and he can click and pin that photo is for that object or that location, and they can add it. So there is no limit at all on adding any kind of data like that. Imagery, we download it, we auto rectify it, and it's really fit in place. So they can add as much imagery as they want. I see that there is a question from Jeff also here. So in fact, our data management is so granular. You can, and it's very simple. You have a matrix, you have users, you have authorities. So you can say this is an admin. You can say you can see only that network, or you can see all networks. You can say you can edit or you cannot edit. So all of that is available to the admin. So whenever we onboard a new client, we choose an admin, the client chooses an admin, and the admin will add as many users as they want and give them the exact permissions they want. So all of that is granular, all the permissions are.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Gotta love the name of the company, Better GIS. It sounds like it's descriptive.
Right. We're now focusing on the new name. We'll go to the InfraMappa, where we mean infrastructure, maps, apps, and analytics. So that will be the new marketing name we'll be using.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for being a part of Some SF. You've helped make the event very special. It was great to see your software.
Thanks very much. And you have a really intellectual crowd here, and we're very happy to have been there.